A lot of people who are in real estate that we know that we get along with and that are in our friend circle, a lot of them started getting into real estate as early as their university years. And people I feel have that challenge of getting into it and having a struggling decision of either going through the education to job pathway or pivoting into some kind of entrepreneurship. And you, with your family, I know like Taiwan family, there is an expectation, almost a stereotypical expectation. Go to university, get your degree, get a high paying job, move into the suburbs, have a family, make sure to do that thing. But you made a different decision. So why did you decide to make that different
So
decision?
it's very interesting. Both of my parents, my dad retired very early because he was like playing with the stock options and all that. And then there's some land that was like, again, like transferred to him when he was young. So he didn't really have to work too hard. And that's why him and my mom sometimes argue a little bit. My mom, on the other hand, is an entrepreneur. She's been like owning her business since when she was like early 20s, right? Kindergarten, there's a tutoring school afterwards. And again, like always been the investor and entrepreneur, business owner. But when it comes to me and my brother, they want us to go into a job. And I think the reason why is because they've seen how difficult it can be or challenging it can be to be a business owner, right? So they've always tried to push me into that direction. And that's why we ended up getting engineering job. My brother was a very actually successful software engineer. For myself, I got in there. I didn't really like it. That's why I decided to make a switch, right? Pivot back to the business and entrepreneurship.
There has got to be a bit of a mindset that is already sort of in you in order to push that kind of thing, because it's scary. Take that much control over what happens to you and how you go about operating your life.
I think I've seen the freedom of my parents, and that's what's always been in me. I grew up seeing that they could take any days off if they want. They work extremely hard. When there's school day or holidays or whatever, they pick their own holiday, right? They pick their own days off on the birthday with us and all that. So that's always been something that I was observing growing up. The moment that I started trying engineering, first of all, I really did not like my program, right? If anybody asked me like my worst time or my biggest challenge, I always refer it back to my time in university. I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't a straight A student. I almost failed multiple times. By the time I finally got into the work field, extremely exhausting to me.
You know, it's funny you say that was one of your worst times, because a lot of people, you hear it in conversation when people reflect on some of the best years of their lives. What do they think about? They think about high school, university, and some of those relatively carefree years. But you're saying for you, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, because I was forced to do things I just didn't enjoy for 4 or 5 years.
Do you think that is because maybe that environment or learning or operating that fashion is against your nature? Is that it?
Totally.
It's against your nature.
Yeah.
So maybe entrepreneurship and somebody who goes and gets a job versus somebody who goes and does things for themselves, maybe it is innate. Maybe there is something about people's nature, but do you think that can be changed and adjusted?
For sure. I think everything's all about perspective. If you enjoy having a very regular life, maybe having a job is not so bad, right? But you just need to figure out how to invest along the way. For me, it's like I didn't like that I was told that I need to be there from 9 to 5. So my very first job, I literally go back and negotiate, can I come in at 8 to 4 and 7 to 3? And my boss at the time ended up letting me do 7 to 3. And I remember every time I get off work, I was just so happy because I get to go to different seminars. I wasn't like just chilling. I was literally going to try different things. Literally my day started at 4 p.m. all the way to 11 to 12. And I go back, pass out. The next morning, I want to get up early because I want to continue with that 7 to 3 so that I have freedom in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, exactly. At least that allows you some of the day and you can control some of your time, and then you have that time afterwards. But you see, now having done what you've done, you kind of messed all this thing up with your parents, because your parents did the entrepreneurship thing, but you see, I think the thing was that they worked hard.
Yeah.
And they didn't want you to have to work so hard, but you kind of went and screwed it up, and now you're working really hard. Yeah. Maybe a little harder than you need to if you had just gone to go get a job.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think working hard is a good trait to have, right? A lot of people right now are trying to go for working less. I never understood that concept, because sometimes when you're doing something that you enjoy or eventually you get good at, the time passes by so fast and you get so much fulfillment from it, right?
Yeah.
And pick the day that you want to have a days off.
Yeah.
That's okay. Reward yourself. That's okay. But I don't subscribe to the mindset that we need to work less and less.
Do you think time flies or does time go slow?
every time I feel like there's a lot of movement, a lot of like the schedule is fully packed. On the day of, I feel like, okay, from morning to night, it passed by so fast. But when I'm looking at a higher, I guess, spectrum or from a higher level, right, thinking about what I've done in the past 3 months, I feel like that 3 months went by so slow because I've done so much.
Yeah, you feel like a lot of time has passed. Over a longer period of time.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. Ever since we started working together and making a lot of moves, so completing a lot of motions, I feel like, wow, every day just seems to fly. However, it feels like 3 months ago was a year ago.
Yeah.
Because so much has changed in the last 3 months.
Yeah, that's why there's a saying that time slows down when you're trying to recreate yourself or recreate something, because a lot of mental energy goes into that one specific things, and it just feels like the time spent becomes much, much longer.
That's why I always measure how fulfilled people are sometimes by how they perceive time. If they perceive time as going slowly or quickly, it's an indicator as to how happy they are in their day-to-day life, their careers, their work, whatever it is they're doing.
Yep.
Right? So it's definitely a good measure. So university for you must have taken a long time.
Oh, seriously. Like even when I was working for that engineering company, right? Like I definitely felt like the last 3 months of my employment over there went by so slow because my mind wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I kept on checking my clocks and be like, hey, like, am I hitting 3 o'clock or whatever? So I can go do my other things, right? Real estate investing at the time, we were doing the deal hunting, tax sale, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was way more fun than anything else.
I once went to an office where I saw everybody playing a watch game, where it's like approaching like 4:30, and that's when they were supposed to clock out. And there wasn't a clock anywhere in the office. However, everybody had a watch, and everybody's just like, okay, yeah, it's about 4:30. And I'm looking at mine says 4:20, but then they're just like, okay, what time you got? What time you got? What time you got?
Yeah.
And whoever has 4:30, that's when they're clocking
Oh, they're
out.
so desperate.
They want to leave. They
Yeah,
want to leave.
Exactly.
No, so it's good when you have something that you're in control over. Did you have any jobs while you were in university?
Yeah, some side jobs, right? Part-time jobs.
What kind of jobs?
Year 2, I was like in a restaurant for a Taiwanese bubble tea place.
Oh, were you serving?
I was the cook.
I can't imagine you doing
Yeah,
that.
I can't really cook, but I had to do what I had to do. But that was actually the first time that I started having a bit of a understanding of money, actually, right? Because I remember I was like just spending things recklessly because everything was given. But that's the only time the first time that I realized that, okay, I need to spend this much time in exchange for that amount, the X amount of money, and then I can spend on something. So every time I started buying something, I noticed myself thinking about, oh, that's equivalent to like five hours of my working time. And that's the first time that I had the understanding of money.
Okay.
But it's kind of funny because I got my real estate in first year with my parents' help. Again, everything was given.
See, there's a difference between you making a conscious decision to go into something and then your parents having parented you in a fortunate way that presented you with opportunity, you know? Because I bet when you got into the real estate in that fashion, it's not like this was what you wanted.
I didn't like it.
No, yeah,
I was told to do
it was horrible.
So. Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, but it's obviously hugely advantageous. You know, I always reflect on the same thing with respect to my mom taught me how to play piano. It was a painful experience growing up, right? Like, as in, I was not happy when it was time to practice piano.
Right.
However, today I find it was really great, you know, and I learned how to play piano in university. All I did was play piano. It was a great social catalyst.
Right.
Everybody came close to listen to the piano and talk and put their beers on the piano, drink and sing.
Nice.
Right? I have my mom to thank for that, even though it was a painful experience learning it.
For sure.
It was one of those things. And, you know, I think respectively, your parents got you to help with their real estate ventures, right? So what were you doing for them?
Real estate was a very fortunate experience, right? Because they got me into the game when I didn't know anything and when I didn't even appreciate having a real estate, right? I didn't think that it was that hard.
When your mom was getting you into real estate, what are some of the things that she made you do?
Everything in the operation. So property management, tenant placement, even the renovation, because we never bought anything that doesn't have any value add. So BRRRR strategy, at the time, it wasn't called BRRRR. It was just called you buy a property, fix it up, and then when the prices are high, you can do a refi or pull it a HELOC.
Yeah.
Right. So or something that we call over leveraged. Right?
Yes, pretty much.
I did that. Project management. First year university, I had to contact some Chinese contractors, discuss about the floor plan, everything with my parents' guidance, obviously. But I was the only person who's really doing all the coordination, from project management all the way to even cleaning the units after the work is done. Finding the tenants, qualifying the tenants, and then draft the lease agreement. I did all of that, and again, like as per my mom's instruction.
So you got to see the whole process, which I think is really interesting, how it works. You got to even do some of the work. I'm assuming there's a lot of garbage clean out. Did you do any renovations like painting, drywall, anything like that?
I tried, but it didn't work out for me. You know that.
I think it's interesting that your parents got you into real estate, but they also sent you to university with the expectation that you would become an engineer.
Yeah.
I think unbeknowingly, they ended up steering you on a path towards entrepreneurship, because when you're looking at the two, they wanted you to get a job and use real estate as a side. But what you're doing is you're kind of using real estate as a main, and then you have a business on the side.
Yeah, that was definitely my side hustle because I needed to deal with a lot of things after school, which was totally okay for me without knowing that's actually what I was doing. I learned quite a bit from that, like from those experiences. But I always thought it was a weird work for me, like a blue collar work.
Yeah.
That I had to do after school. I never thought it was something that it was something that people would pursue.
But you got to learn about it. And that's the thing is that there's a saying in Greek, which is, and I'm sure every culture has some kind of saying like this, where it's just like pick it up and then leave it. Whereas like as long as you learn a skill, it's good to learn it, cultivate it, and then if you don't need it, drop it, but then pick it up again when you need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's good to have the perspective of everything you learn.
Toolbox, right?
It's a toolbox, yeah, exactly, right? You don't want to have to go buy these tools when you need them. It's expensive. You pay full price.
Yeah.
Right? Buy it on sale when it's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember when we first met, we met through your wife, Joy, because we were in the same nursing program.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really funny because she sent me this message. I don't know if I ever showed you those initial text messages, but she literally texted me saying, hey, I know you're really into real estate. My boyfriend's also really into real estate. I was wondering if you could spend some time with him and talk to him. That's literally what she said to me. Yeah, I know. And I thought it was funny, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, no. Joy's really kind, obviously, and she was really nice about it. And she told me that you were considering going into a coaching program, and that maybe we could talk first. And I think it was after that I realized, okay, you were really interested in exploring this as a viable avenue. You must have been really afraid of having to become an engineer.
Oh, seriously?
So you really wanted to make real estate work.
I had no issue paying for other coaches to learn things that I wanted to do because I was so afraid to have to stick to the engineering route. It's crazy because I can't see myself working 20 years just to get across the whole way.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy that you are in engineering and you were already paying for a university degree, and then you were willing to sign up for unsolicited, or rather unaccredited, real estate education. That's got to say something to anybody who is listening to that or who hears that story, because if you're already in university and you're paying for what is perceived as real value, you're going to get a degree. That's the value there. But you also realize at a certain point that you're not getting as much practical and applicable education as you would get from someone who has done the work and who has actually achieved the type of success you want to achieve. It does say something. So the fact that you were willing to do that, I think it was impressive to me at the time, and I thought that this is an indicator that you were willing to go down that path. I remember around the time I met you, you had just done a summer cleaning job, or you had started a little cleaning business.
Yeah, that's with my buddy, because there was a city of Hamilton was offering an entrepreneurship program where they give out $5,000. So we saw that ad or whatever, and we're like, okay, why don't we just figure out how to get that 5,000? And we couldn't think about any business ideas. So we're like, let's do cleaning business and see what happens. So we went in there with a bit of business plan, and then eventually that led to a demolition job. We were able to network with some investors with renovation sites, and by the time we finished a couple of jobs, like the summer has passed.
Even that, I remember when you were sharing with me that path, you went into the cleaning, it led to other opportunities, led to another network. And one of the things with entrepreneurship is that it's literally a trail of work that presents itself to you. And as long as you are willing to facilitate that work, whereas if you go get a job, one of the things I find restrictive about it is that if it's out of your scope of work, it's out of your scope of work. You can't do it, right?
You can't do it, you shouldn't be responsible for it, and nobody wants you to touch it either.
Exactly. And then you have people saying, oh, well, there's not enough work, not enough work. Well, it's because you also don't have the facilities to take on more work, right? Exactly. Entrepreneurship, you have as much facility as you have capacity. So if you're able to do it, then you're able to do it. So I think this is a good point to segue into how that led you into taking on real estate full time, because there's the building blocks. You did a little bit of entrepreneurship. You started the small business. You did all kinds of work that you didn't want to do, which shows a degree of like grit and commitment to see things through.
Yep.
And you got your degree, obviously.
Yeah, I got my degree. I almost failed it, especially the very last course, very last one. And I was like thinking about if I failed that one, I probably wouldn't go back and take it again.
You'd be a university dropout.
Yeah.
That would make a better story.
I know. But no, I had to do what I had to do because the money has been spent. There's an expectation. And I also a firm believer that you start where you finish where you start.
Do you know how many people go into university 3 years and then, or even 4, and don't get the degree?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when you're so close, it's important to just finish, right? Because it demonstrates your consistency to other people and your commitment to other people.
I think that's what a lot of employers also view a university degree as. It's an ability to commit to something and see it through and finish it.
Yeah, yeah.
But you see, if I wanted to argue the other side, I would say that, you know, if you know that you're not going to use it, spending an extra year or even 2 years to finish that degree is just an extra waste of time.
Yeah, so my mindset shifted a lot. Obviously, knowing what I know right now, I feel like there's some of the knowledge that I learned from the program was good. And if I had the chance again to go through that again, I would do it. But I wouldn't focus so much on getting the degree. That's knowing what I know now and having the ability to generate some income for myself already. Then I would say that prior to that, I didn't earn the right to say that I'm going to drop out, right? Because guess what? I was still living off my properties at the time, but then the money was never enough to actually sustain my lifestyle. And also I was living with my parents. So I didn't actually earn the right to say, hey, this I get to pick what I want to do.
Yeah. So now in retrospect, if you had to do university over again, what would have been your focus?
I would definitely want to learn more about the finance, the accounting. I'm not talking about the corporate accounting and all that, right? How to do basic bookkeeping, how to understand the real estate a little bit, because now I already identified my passion. So having a bit of focus with obviously with a future path, that's what I would do. But the biggest problem with a lot of younger people is that they don't know where they're going, right? So in that case, you gotta try different things. You have to keep trying until you find out, oh, you know what, I actually don't mind this. Okay, dig deeper. That would be my recommendation for like even my daughter, right? If she doesn't know what to do, like she's definitely not going to stay home, watch TV and all that stuff. You're gonna try so many different things until you find something that you have a bit passion, and then we're gonna start spending a little bit more time on that specific project.
Okay, so it would have been finance to focus on it.
I think I would do finance because I think it again, like right now we're looking at numbers all the time, so having a bit of fundamental earlier, it would have saved us a lot of money.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. No, for sure. A little more fundamentals on that would have definitely been very helpful in everything that we do. You know, I feel like an understanding of finance and accounting in general goes a long way in every aspect of your life, whether you're doing basic finances, business, or whatever, taxes. You know, it'll help you out a ton.
Yeah, not saying that we need to end up doing it by ourselves, but I think having a bit of a knowledge will help us prepare ourselves in the long run.
The one thing I would have done differently in university, which I went into university a little bit older, so I felt like I was already going in with the right mindset and the right intention there, but even now I still look at it and think I should have had Instagram in university. I should have networked better because you know how some people go to Harvard, go to Princeton, go to nice, expensive universities, and they say, oh, the education and the opportunities or the students accomplish a lot more. I think what the value is there, at least what I hear people talk about, is kind of like a big club where people just end up having a better network. I feel like when people go to university, especially into certain programs, they don't take advantage of the network enough. I wish I had maintained better connections with people I had interacted with, because now when opportunity presents it, we'd be connected. But now I don't even know their Instagram handle. I don't have their phone numbers anymore.
For sure. So here's the thing. Academic-wise, I think bookkeeping and accounting is something that I will want to focus a little bit more. Obviously, the real estate stuff, right? Get myself in there a little early. I think social media, it's something that if I learned that earlier, I think it would be super beneficial. Public speaking.
Ooh.
Because when we first met, I was having trouble like finishing a complete sentence.
Yeah.
Even right now, I'm still having trouble with it. But I didn't have that kind of confidence to talk.
Yeah.
Even over the phone, I was having a lot of trouble, right? So if public speaking was something that I got myself in, I think it will boost up my confidence quite a bit and to handle any sort of conversation.
That one is an interesting balance. By the way, I know some people who went into public speaking, and this isn't a knock on anyone who did go to those public speaking groups, but I feel like when people who are trained in public speaking go and speak, I find it's a little odd. You can tell they went to Toastmasters. You know, it's like it almost has a sound to it. They have a way of speaking, and yes, you know, it's effective. It's a thing. You know, it's very presentable. But then you see some guys who go to parties and they kind of just get up there on the mic and it's like, all right, everybody, are you listening to me? Right? And then they just yell everybody. That's a different kind of public speaking, right?
Yeah.
That's entertainment probably.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing. Public speaking, I think Toastmaster teach us how to build a foundation. And by the way, I haven't actually been to there, but teach people how to build a foundation. But once you you figure out all the basic skills, right? You still need to figure out your own voice, right? And a lot of people, when you're trying to copy other people's voice, and it's gonna look weird.
Yeah.
Right. So
Actually, I went to some of the Toastmasters clubs when we were in university.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it'd be a good place to pick up girls. It's
And?
not. It's just a bunch of socially awkward people, and like trying to find themselves. It wasn't the greatest place.
Yeah,
So,
I see. No, but honestly, I kind of wish that I knew a little bit about public speaking and knowing how to sound a little bit more confidence, because my accent, not being able to speak in front of people over a call, right? Always worry about, like, subconsciously worry about whether or not the other side can understand me. That has been a problem for a long time.
Yeah.
For many years.
But despite all those things, obviously that didn't hold you back in any of the ventures that you've made so far, right? Which brings us into the real estate aspect of it. Having had the success you've had in real estate, what did that journey look like for you?
Obviously, when I was still in engineering, I knew right away that a career path wasn't for me, right? So like I mentioned, I started spending a lot of time learning about the industry. After 3, I signed up for a mentor, Matthew Frederick, who's still a coach in the industry. Very knowledgeable. I learned a lot from him. And he was the one who's kind of opened my mind a little bit with many different strategies. How do you negotiate? He taught me about the people. After that, we started doing some stuff. And again, you're also very good. You're also very good with people, right? Understand how people's mind works, right? So from you two, I literally learned a lot, and then this is where I feel like, okay, I see myself doing this long term, because one, it provides the freedom that I've been seeking for, right? It provides a really good compensation. Also, like, it's really fun. People talk about legacy. I don't really care about that, to be honest with you, and because again, like, legacy, like, you can pass on to many different generations that honestly, after 2 generations, people won't remember me. So I don't care about that as much, but it just provides me the financial stability, and there's a lot of creativity that goes into real estate. All that aspects makes me feel like, okay, this is the industry that I want to dive into. So that's when we first connected, right? I wanted to talk about real estate. I want to learn more about real estate, and having 3 rental properties obviously helped me boost up. But the biggest issue at that moment is that the family was having a conversation with me about, hey, listen, if you are bringing another partner, we need to separate the family assets from whatever you're trying to build moving forward. So all of a sudden, I don't have any, literally, like, I don't have money.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
I don't have money for the next one. So when we first met, obviously I was very entry level. Well, you pretty much brought in all the resource, right? The private lenders or whatever. All I had to figure out was, I think, 10% of private lending. And then we acquired 2 properties. And then from there, I'm like, holy shit, it's not too hard.
No,
I can do it.
Yeah.
And you were sharing a lot of your experience with the renovation. Obviously, at that time, there was a multifamily stuff. So the journey actually was very smooth for me. Like, the transition from the full-time job into this was very smooth for me. And then right after that was like, okay, can we find a property manager?
Yeah.
Right, to manage our own portfolio so we can continue doing that. We couldn't find one, and also we feel like we're capped with how much people that we know. We're capped with our network. So that's when we were like, okay, since we can't find property management and we're trying to expand our network, and we also want to get paid, why don't we start with a property management company? And then we did that. I think first 2-3 months we made like $15K, like just off the leasing through cold calling people.
Yeah, that was surprising because I remember that so vividly because I hadn't done anything. I had done real estate, but I hadn't really done real estate business. One man show, very controlled, right? We didn't have service agreements and stuff like that. So it was crazy that we were in my student house, sitting there cold calling other landlords saying, hey, yeah, do you want help leasing your property?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to think that you can start a property management business that way.
Exactly, because it's a local business, right? And people always think about like any real estate service that you need to have your branding, you have your company or whatever. We didn't have any of that.
No.
We just figure out how to get a list of phone numbers with 416-905 or 647. So we know that they're 40 minutes away from the from McMaster, from Hamilton.
Yeah.
And we just start calling people, and then we didn't know that the money could be earned that easily. It was so quick, and again, I feel like our partnership, we are going through different phases on figuring out how to monetize rather than just investing. Investing, I think, is easy. If you have money, you can invest. Making money off other people, getting other people to pay you, that's a different ballgame.
It has different challenges depending on what you're trying to do. But we also had one fundamental problem. Our ambitions, I feel like, were outpacing us.
Yeah.
Our ambition was going faster than we were able to move at the time. That's where we're just like, we got to move faster. We got to move faster. We got to move faster because our ambition is getting away from us.
Yeah.
And if you don't stay up, you start to pull your ambition back and settle. And that becomes problematic. So I think the problem that we had was that it was easy to make money. It was hard to make the kind of money we wanted to.
Exactly. And again, real estate is always has this consistent problem where there's always other shining objects, right? When you're doing a service provider, you think about why can't I just be the investors who oversee all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we were already doing that. But then service industry is definitely not something that we wanted to stay in for too long, at least for me. And then so I was always looking for different ways to kind of pivot into. But yeah, now the property management company still pays our salary. So I mean, we still made the right decision.
The thing is that it's always easy to look back on things and say, oh, you know, if I had done things a little bit differently, I might have done things like X, Y, and Z. Like, because we did things a little bit differently where when we first partnered up together, we bought those no money down properties in St. Catharines. And then after that, we made some money and started property management business. Whereas a lot of people will do the business first and then buy property.
Yeah.
But we do things backwards for some reason sometimes.
We always do things backwards. Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a little bit of a different journey. But the thing is that there was a reason for it, right? Mm-hmm. Because after we started the property management, after we developed a network, real estate came really fast, right? So you've been acquiring properties after we got a little more established in the property management business. And how did that look for you? How has that changed things for you?
Oh, first of all, having that kind of network, I didn't know that property management isn't just for the monthly income, right? Like initially when we got in, we're like, there's multiple different purposes, but very soon we realized that we can scale up that kind of relationship very quickly, the network. Mm-hmm. Right, because now all of a sudden people who are ranging from 1 to 3 properties all the way to like 10, 15 properties or even more, they're seeking for that kind of service. So all of a sudden we get to chat with them and talk about how we can actually oversee their properties. And once that kind of working relationship gets established, there's no way that they're going to look elsewhere the moment that there's a business opportunities there.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Who are you going to work with when you have someone who's looking after your property versus someone who's just on the internet and talking about how good their project is?
Yeah.
Right. They still need to operate. Right. So the due diligence are two different things. Right. With us, due diligence is on the project itself. With other people, it's like, hey, can you actually run the operation? From that aspect, I think 2017 we got sixplex again with no money down. Is literally because the investors has already trusted that we're able to operate a business. Again, like flipping business, we barely use a lot of our capital. Sometimes we do need to put in a little bit because it's good return and it shows that there's skin in the game. That's the biggest benefit of having a business service being a service provider for other real estate.
Yeah. I think it is important that people understand the purpose of a real estate business. It's not always the thing that is going to make you a ton of money in that operation. Because for us, property management is not a loss leader, as some people would describe some parts of their business that don't make money. It makes money, it just doesn't make the money that we're talking about. But what people need to understand is like, it's the puzzle piece. It's the intersection that which all roads around real estate collide or meet or cross, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to grow your own business and you want to be in the heap of everything and connect everything to do something bigger, you should be the puzzle piece that has an attachment on each side.
Yeah.
So that all other people need you. You don't want to be the corner piece of a puzzle.
Yeah.
You want to be the centerpiece of a puzzle so everything connects with you.
Yeah, so it's such a great lead generation that we wasn't expecting.
So with all these, let's call them departments or areas of business kind of circulating around this business apparatus where we have property management, house flipping, we have real estate investing where we burr some multifamily properties, where there's the realty and then there's the coaching and education portion of everything. How does this all play in and how do you feel about it in 2023 with the market fluctuating and everything that's happening? How does this all work for you?
Yeah, so different market has a different opportunity. Like back in 2020, 2019, right? Like sales was really good, right? So easy. Anybody can become a realtor, right? And do sales. So we monetized that when the opportunity came. A year before that was like house flipping. Mm-hmm. House flipping, we made quite a bit of money from there too. Prior to that was like property management because there was not a lot of competitors. Now 2023 is obviously a weird market where a lot of people are struggling because of the interest rate. You can see that the attention are being drawn into the multifamily space, right? Because 1 to 2 units won't cash flow anymore. So you need to be looking for 3 to 4. But if you're going for 3 to 4, you might as well go slightly bigger, 6 to 12 or even more. So a lot of attention over there was also why we cashed out our sixplex out, right? And we still hold some like multifamily, but we don't want to be chasing for something that everybody's chasing for. 2023, my firm belief is that house flipping is the way to go because number one, you're not going to get any cash flow. Multifamily is getting a little too hard to get in, but right now the market is down with the upcoming immigration. If you can find something that upcoming immigration is going to purchase from you, lock those one in, right? Even if it's at the negative cash flow, because now is the time to play equity, right? Not the cash flow. Cash flow is important. I'm not saying it's not, but find something that you can hold if you really need to, but with the intention that you're flipping that. Because now, if you get something in, wait and spend the time to do a renovation, wait for the closing. By the time you finish that product, you're going to see a huge surge of a wave or demand coming in to pick up that product.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who are stuck with product that does not have that kind of versatility.
Such as
single family homes.
That's why you don't pick that project.
Yeah, I know. But some people are kind of sitting there with the cat in the bag, and this is where I know we talked with different people, and everybody has different views on it. I know consistently, even we go about the strategy is to just drop the bags that have holes in them. Drop the bag that isn't going to be profitable. Cut your losses. Pivot into something that you can maneuver and mold into what it is you need.
Exactly, and that's a logical decision to make. There's going to be a lot of emotional, factors or emotions that you have to go through in order to make that decision. It is definitely challenging, but it will be the right thing to do.
There is, if you think about it, a lot of benefit to when somebody has the fortuity to have an apparatus, a business that has multiple income streams, right, within a business. That also synergizes, right? Because people sometimes have multiple businesses. One is in stocks, one is in an actual service-based business, and then they also have a job, or they might have some real estate, and it's just all over the place. There's no connection between everything except maybe their pro forma account or something, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and when the focus is that sprayed out, right, you pretty much have no focus, which means how are you going to actually be ready when the opportunity comes, right? With what we're doing, we never actually pivot that much to something else. Yeah. Right. I did try to do stock option, right? Yeah. It's really stressful.
Yeah. Well,
I had to drop that, right? Because it was just there's not enough synergy with a daily operation.
You know, the whole thing about when you look at other shiny objects, we hear people making all kinds of money on stocks, and they make it sound so easy. Like, oh yeah, you can do your regular work, and then you just have to check your numbers on your phone every now and then. It's no problem. But they don't talk about how when you check the numbers on your phone, it stresses you out, right?
Yeah, you can't function afterwards.
And you have to look at it in order to make decisions if you want to make the money they're talking about.
So one thing that I learned from this book, Who Not How, I actually read this book like 3 times. I recently read it again when I was in Mexico. It's saying that if you need to have the freedom, you need to have the mental freedom first. You need to have the headspace first, right? Because if you're constantly thinking, occupying things, and you have so many different decisions to make, you won't be able to do anything else with a focus. That hit me a lot because I have still been struggling with that, right? Multiple different business ideas. When I see certain things like that we can capitalize on in today's market, I always wanted to kind of explore the ideas a little bit with that. But the fact that we need to put in a lot of mental effort into something that literally just because again doing research, right, making decision on a daily basis, right, allocating the human resource and the financial resource, those are all stressful. And the moment that you're stressed, you don't have the freedom. You can't be present anymore because you're always thinking about what's going to happen in the future, which lead to a lot of anxiety and stress. I don't like the idea of having too many focuses anymore. I want to keep everything super simple and learn how to say no, right? The good leaders actually, they all are very good at saying no to different opportunities once they are a little bit more established. I'm not saying we're there yet, but I think we need to learn how to say no to. I
was talking about this with my friend Adam because he asked me, just like, why are you always so busy? Because he asked me, he's just like, can we do this together? And I'm just like, okay, I can try, but I can only have maybe an hour and a half. He's just like, why? What do you got to do after that? It's like, I have this to do, I have that to do, I have that to do. And it's like, why are you always so busy? I thought about it because after he asked me, I'm just like, why am I so busy? And then I'm like, oh, people do ask me for stuff, whether it's, hey, can you help me, going, it's social things sometimes, yeah. Yes, or what I consider social, hey, can you help me do this, or can we go see these family members, or I need help solving this type of problem. And then there's our coaching, which I want to make myself available to certain students so that if they need help for specific situations, I can help them through it. But it ends up consuming a lot of time, and you need to be able to set certain boundaries for it. That becomes challenging.
People with a higher capacity, this is what my dad told me. If you have a higher ability and capacity with the things that you're doing, usually your responsibility is going to be higher because more people need your help. And that's why leaders, with that kind of capacity, ability to make a lot of good decisions, usually their time becomes very limited because everybody wants their time. So it's really important for them to say, hey, listen, I can only help you to this certain degree, or you need to get help until this point, then I can help you. So help me help you, basically.
There is a funny balance I find with being able to say no and outsource certain types of help. And sometimes it's good when people don't think that you are able to help them with certain things. My brother calls it strategic incompetence, right? Strategic incompetence. Just like if you go, they ask you to do something and you totally botch it and mess it up, they're never going to ask you again.
Yeah.
And he's just like, they think you're either totally stupid or it's complete genius,
Right.
right? It's one or the other,
Yeah.
right? And I see the advantage of doing something like that. So with the different apparatuses, obviously there's a different philosophy for every line of work. We have the property management, which is a revenue, wholesale, which is a revenue, and then there's other larger ticket items for real estate, that is house flipping, burst strategy, and real estate transactions.
Yep.
These are higher ticket items. What is the philosophy behind these areas?
Okay, so obviously over time, our philosophy has actually shifted based on our experience. Initially, we like to hold the properties as long as we can. We don't want to sell. It really comes with certain problems. Number one is the cash flow is just never enough for us to get to where we want to be, right? From rent, right? Because the mortgage, all the expenses just gets a little too expensive, right? So 2017, 2018, we started incorporating house flipping to make that become a active income stream for our business, to turn flipping business into our cash flow of the company, right? And once we do that, we realize that, okay, there's a lot more capital that we can accumulate much quicker. Our investing philosophy shifted to flip 3, hold 1. And now holding 1, we're still holding, at the time we were still acquiring student rental, residential, like duplex and all that stuff, to the point where we started seeing how things went or things go with the LTB, right? Landlord tenant board now has become a biggest risk to a lot of landlords, right? And the reason why we're saying that is because we also went through multiple properties with eviction, and then one of them took 13 months. The other one took almost 2 years. Being an investor is always about knowing where your risk is and then how to mitigate that. So our philosophy right now is very simple. Try to flip as many residentials as possible. Like for residential, we just flip it. We control the product. We remove the tenant from our investing equation, and we allocate those funds into commercial space where there's no rent control. We don't have to so stressed out about like the conforming, non-conforming, and all that stuff. Everything legal, and so that we can sit on it. On top of that, one of the other things that we're seriously considering in 2023 is to start allocating some funds into the US, right? Find a states that's landlord friendly or fair system where if you don't pay rent, you're going to be out within 1 to 2 months. Investing philosophy becomes much easier. I think a lot of people overly emphasize BRRRR method. I think it worked well in the past 3-4 years. House flipping works really well in the past 3-4 years. The market was appreciating. So whatever you do, you can pull the money out. We don't believe that there's only one strategy works in all kind of markets.
No, people sometimes look at real estate investing strategies almost like they look at Tylenol. This is just going to fix everything, and it's not the case. And you have to really think and look at the strategy that is best suited to you. And the market, right? Because BRRRR strategy still works today, but it has to work in very cheap, like not cheap, but far more cost-effective properties.
Exactly, right? And then you also need to allow much longer time. And the truth is, just keep in mind that that's a process. That's not an active strategy. When you pull the money out from one property, that's debt that you're paying the interest on. You can't just spend however you want, like house flipping profit. Right? When we get a profit, we spend however we want based on how we feel. When you get that refinance money, you need to put it back into the income producing asset again, which means you're always going to be cash poor.
This is why I feel like if you're actually going to turn that as an engine and as a business apparatus, it's important to be able to mitigate costs along the way. Because if you trade in and out properties without having enough margins, the only people that make money are the lenders, the realtors, and the lawyers in the end. So you're doing all this work so that they can make money. If you're going to do that, they better be giving you nice thank you cards with a red envelope with some stacks in there.
Yes, exactly.